and welcome to Talking the Gridiron Wild Card Edition here. I got Jimmy Pilato on with me, as always, wearing the crown. It will not be his forever, though. It's going to be making his way to his co-host here in a little bit.
Just the messenger. But I feel like this is probably what the messengers did when they had to take jewelry back in the medieval times, flex on it, get a couple, bar maidens to go home with you on your journeys across. So why not? Listen to Far End of the Bench. You'll understand the significance of the crown and the belt if you listen to Far End of the Bench.
That's the key. And Rev, he's probably never looked better with it. Rev, we've joined you. I think this is maybe your second or third time this year. It's great to have you on with the playoffs. Jimmy, I was hoping when I asked him, oh, nice, it'll be Sunday. We get his recap of the game. Well, now it's a preview with Rev with the Steelers. So we'll get to that on a Monday with him, talking his Steelers versus the Bills over here on Variety Sports Network. Like we said, appreciate anybody that's jumped in. Please, halftime here, Lions, Rams 21-17. Right now, a shootout right now between Stafford and Goff. The Lions are moving up and down the court, up and down the field right here. What's your thoughts?
You've been doing the double too much, Daren.
I know, been doing the basketball too much with it. What are your thoughts of that? I mean, watching that first half, remember we talked about it with C. Henry last week, was Lions going for it and on fourth down. And what was it? Fourth and goal on the 1 yard line, fourth and the inch line was the first down. They get the touchdown with Laporta to go up 21-10. I mean, they don't get that right. That's a massive swing in an event right there. So I don't know, it paid off. It paid off right away right now. And that was a big part of this game. So this one, I'm interested how the second half plays out. And if that situation comes out again, what happens if the Lions don't get it, Jimmy? So that's my initial thought right here, jumping right into that game.
Go ahead, Rev.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how this one folds out. Just you can tell both quarterbacks are on a mission right now. You saw Matt Stafford somehow getting booed by his old Detroit fan base as if it was his fault that they never had running backs to support him. But regardless, you could tell both on Jared Goff's side and on Matt Stafford's side.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like it's like one of those situations where you see your ex-girlfriend and it's almost like you wanna stun on them, Both QBs are playing on their old teams. On Stafford's end, Detroit just finally figured out, hey, this isn't going anywhere. Whereas with Jared Goff and the Rams, Jared Goff definitely feels like the Rams gave up on him. So it's almost like a game where both players kind of get this stun on their ex-girlfriends. So yeah.
And they're locked in, Jimmy. They look like they're both locked in.
The quarterbacks are for sure. The defenses haven't shown up yet. Maybe they got lost on the way, but they're going up and visiting Canada or whatever they were saying is right across the bridge. Both teams are playing to their strengths. The strength of the Rams is their passing game. I know Kyron Williams has been the sensation, but it is their passing game. Puka Nacua, that route that he scored the long-ass touchdown on, I understand why he is as tough to deal with as he has been all season. But then the Lions, they're playing to their strengths as well. Running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery are having huge days. They're getting all three of their receivers involved, Jameson Williams, Josh Reynolds, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown is a guy, all of these Detroit guys, I was talking to my dad about it. They've been here through such ebbs and flows. Like Frank Ragnow was drafted when they weren't going anywhere, when they were making it to the first round of the playoffs and not doing much. And now he is angering one of the best offensive lines in football. They've had some struggles, but I think that both teams right now are playing as close to mistake-free football as possible, and they're getting lucky. It's going to be interesting to see which team's luck turns first in the second half. I think that's what's going to separate who actually starts pulling away and who doesn't. Because in a shootout, that's what you're looking for. Yeah. Who's going to make the one mistake? 1 inch, half a second too slow, too fast. You don't quite catch it. Half an inch too far, too low. Don't quite make it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
What was there? There was that offside play right there.
That determines your results on any given Sunday for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan, I know you're jumping on here with us, talking the gridiron with us. We've been everywhere. We previewed this game. We've previewed a lot of these games along the way here. You guys did tailgate this morning. Now we're kind of recapping everything. Lions, Rams, we're kind of getting into that shootout. We'll keep you updated along the way there with it. I think the one thing, too, that gets me excited is wow, we maybe have a close game here. It's like
one of them will actually have some drama throughout.
I know. So hopefully we'll be giving you that drama here on Talking the Gridiron as we go. If something happens, Jimmy will break it down. We'll stop. We'll get it back into the game here. But 21-17, halftime, probably getting ready to start the third quarter here shortly. Gentlemen, that gives us a chance to maybe, for any of our Cowboy fans out there, give us a chance to kind of jump in to that right now. Jordan Love and the Packers.
I got your hanky for the tears, baby.
I'm thinking
Wipe them off.
I'm thinking of Stan because Eminem's been all over my TV screen all week. It's okay. I just drank a fifth of vodka. You dare me to drive? No, don't do it, Cowboys fans. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't do that. You don't got to go jump off the bridge. Knee your TV. Break your TV in half. Take it out on the TV. Don't do anything stupid. It's just a football game, ladies and gentlemen. It is not real life.
It's sometimes it's a little more than just a game.
Sometimes it is, yes.
Let me start with you, Rev, though. This, just because I feel like the two of us have talked about the Cowboys so much this year. So I want to get your thought, kind of a new, fresh take, like about the crappiness that has always continued with this team. And I'm thinking, no, I pick them 31-10. The Cowboys are 16. This is the year. This is the one, 16-0 at home. Packers, I'm like, they kind of, I told Tyler, this is my best analogy. If you said in a bubble, whenever the streak started, the Packers after today would win the last 6 straight matchups. So I'd say, they're going to, the math doesn't tell you that's going to happen. Eventually you're going to win. It was set up for them to win today, Rev, and they could not get the job done as well as Love played. I mean, I don't know. You take the angle first. You want to give the Packers more love or the Cowboys more blame?
You kind of got to give Cowboys – you got to give the Cowboys a blame. Like, yeah, admittedly, ever since, like, the last, like, quarter of the season, Jordan Love has definitely figured things out. And the Packers are the youngest team in the NFL trying to put the pieces together. Well, the Cowboys, you look at the offense, in which really struggled to put any pieces together. Him and CeeDee Lamb were not on the same page for basically the entire first half. And then they figured things out a little bit in the second half to at least say, hey, we put up 32 points. You can't blame the offense. However, on the defensive end of the ball, something that heading into the year the Cowboys were hanging their head on, just ultimately didn't show up. The secondary, in which the Cowboys take pride in, a lot of the times when the Cowboys blow teams out at home, you can rely on the fact that they have a good secondary on paper, so when teams try to come back, they rally up the interceptions, the secondary gets a shot. But today, Romeo Doubs put Stephon Gilmore on a poster, and the pass rush was non-existent, and just Green Bay just put up numbers on him. It's just disappointing for that Dan Quinn-led Cowboys defense, in which they usually hang their head on, to be exposed, thrown all over, Aaron Jones having the day of his life, and just for them to get picked apart the way that they did. Like, there's no excuses this year. They had enough talent. Sure, Trayvon Diggs went down, but you got an all-pro defensive back on your, stepping up from the bench in Deron Bland. So they literally had no excuses. They're just as talented as they've ever been, 12-5 for 3 consecutive seasons, yet they still flop.
And I have up on the screen right here just a little idea of the secondary play you're getting at moments in the game.
What they call in the biz, booty butt naked open.
That's a pretty wide lens there. And I see 2 Packers helmets. I don't even see a Cowboy helmet in the picture there.
They're all along the sideline. See, right here.
Yeah,
they're all watching him run 50 yards downfield free.
Right.
Yeah, Luke Musgrave's in his own area code right now compared to everyone else.
That's the play in Madden where you're like, I'm just so pissed. I'm getting beat all day. Engage 8. I'm going engage 8. I'm going. we're doing all that.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, throw this one that far, and he did it. He didn't throw it as far as he needed to, but since Musgrave had nobody there, he literally stopped, did like the outfielder. I got it. I got it.
Okay, you
I gotcha
on that play.
Spit take, first spit take of the night.
That's great, Jordan. What do you got of that? What do you got? We'll get the Jimmy's takes on it. What did you think of the game here with Cowboys or Packers? Which one gives a little bit more of the love or hate for the Cowboys more on this one?
I think it is 110% more on the Cowboys than it is the Packers. The Cowboys at home statistically told us, and I said the Cowboys were going to win this morning. So, they got me again this weekend. It's got to be that they looked unprepared. They looked like they weren't on the same page. They looked like they weren't taking things seriously. The offensive line looked like Swiss cheese. Dak didn't have a lot of time, but on the other side, the defense wasn't there. They still had Stephon Gilmore, which was an All-Pro. Even though the secondary had some injuries, but you really didn't see Micah Parsons come up big on tape.
Nope.
Yeah, he was quiet today.
Nothing.
The only thing I noticed was him kind of limping off there a little bit.
Yeah.
I did see that around the mid third quarter. I saw him kind of do the gimp, but at that point, I mean, they were still getting smoked. So yeah, Dan Quinn, for somebody that was kind of being discussed as maybe a replacement if they didn't win this game, I would almost take a second thought on that, whether it was preparation, game tape, or it's just kind of a mentality or a mental block or a curse. I put it 110% on the Cowboys. They look like a team that they forgot it was January. Apparently, they thought it was just like week one. Oh, we'll be all right. We'll be able to move on. But there is no tomorrow.
So what's next for them? What's next? They go like Jimmy. Does that mean McCarthy's automatically gone and like Prescott starts over? Is it like Belichick the next phone call? I posted that video of us talking about this morning. Like it kind of came into fruition because I didn't think that they were going to lose, and I thought they're just going to stay like they always do. But when you lose a game like this and you come back with the same duo, I mean, you're just setting yourself up again for the same story. You're just going to beat yourself into the wall. I mean, at some point, right, they got to make a decision.
Isn't this what they just did? Like, this is what they just did this past year. Because Mike McCarthy, I mean, the past 2 years, I said it on Tailgate this morning, the fact that we've had 2 straight seasons where Mike McCarthy has been at least partially to blame for the playoff collapse, and now it happened even a week earlier. I still said this morning that the Cowboys were going to win because it's their MO that they go 12-5 in the regular season, make everybody think their expectations are higher than they should be, and then they go out and they'll lose in the divisional round. Turns out it was the wild card round this weekend, and it's crazy because it seems to always be the matchup against the Packers in the playoffs because the Packers have their number. I don't think anybody has been more successful at AT&T Stadium outside of the Cowboys than the Green Bay Packers, and this just adds to that. Yeah. Adds to that legacy, adds to the legacy of the franchise that they can just pick whatever quarterback and he'll turn them into whatever they need.
Dakota. We got Dakota. We got the
there are no excuses for whatever happened in that first half there. Just the inability to get on the same page. Him and CeeDee Lamb not being able to connect. It seems
By the way, where was Micah Parsons?
Nowhere to be found, really. Hey, shout out to Zach Tom and whoever the left tackles who stepped in for David Bakhtiari because, they put the lockdowns on a pretty good pass rush.
Yeah.
Who knew a Zach Tom sighting tonight on the show? That's the offensive line knowledge we like there.
41 of 60. 41 of that makes my heart hurt as an offensive lineman.
I feel like we talked about the Cowboys. Just put a little bow on this game here because we don't have as many to go into. So we'll kind of, as we get through the show here, we got just a little bit here, a little love. We've talked a little love to the Packers, but I mean, come on. I mean, Jimmy, we had them in the dead performance at our little game there. They were the only team that made the playoffs. Now they're advancing to the divisional round. I mean, my goodness, you get as tough a matchup as you want coming off a bye against the Niners, but still, the way you beat down the number 2 seed with a young quarterback. And what was it? I saw what they have before the game, the youngest team since 1977 or the youngest Packers team.
They're the youngest team in the NFL this year.
So, I don't know, like they're gonna be like the Texans next year. It's like they're gonna be one of the hype teams in the NFC, right?
Oh, they almost have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless if they win or do what happens next week, they have to be because they're young, they have talent. They have cap space. They can do more in the off season.
Could they be like the Bengals were a couple of years ago? Like, when you guys beat is that like going to be like, can they show that?
That's the second person today that's made that comparison, and I still don't like it.
It's killing me. You're killing me.
Still don't like it.
The only iffy situation is the fact that this is year 4 for Jordan Love. So, you can say that the cap is low, but ultimately there's options that they're going to have to figure out what Jordan Love is worth. Like, has he earned that? Has he earned that major QB money? Has he even earned a Daniel Jones contract? Like, they're going to have to go to the drawing board this year.
Sorry, that's loud. You're right, because I'm like, in my head, that's the first, as you were saying that, Rev, I was like, Daniel Jones just got paid. I'm pretty sure. That's like, I'm thinking they'll pay Love, but that's funny. No, go ahead.
I think a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones, so I think they're safer aspects.
Some people have the ability to make plays off schedule. A lot of those throws that he made, they were very good throws, and they weren't. He had pressure in his face. He had somebody bearing down on him. He was able to stand in there. He has zero regard for his own body because he took a lot of shots today. Like standing in there as long as it takes. I just don't know. I want to give them as much credit as they deserve because they deserve it. And shout out Jair Alexander, because when you talk as much shit and behave the way that he does, you have to be able to back it up. That interception, I don't know what. I would like to know what Dak was looking at in the first half.
Yeah, I'm gonna see
because that interception was a beautiful play. He baited him into it perfectly, but as an NFL quarterback, how do you make that throw? Like as a guy that's that's my sports commented, $61 million in dead cap. That was a Russell Wilson level performance tonight from Dak Prescott. That wasn't a $60 million man.
That's a throw right there. You're talking about
those disguised zone coverages were just giving Dak fits all day. Even that pick six from Darnell Savage, it was like he had no clue where the safety was. Savage was reading his eyes the whole time, steps right in front of the ball, and no one even touches him on the pick six. Like the coverage was just tricking him all day.
And then the pick six was like the other one was like just a walk in the end zone. That one too. This is a name I love. This little Donald Driver. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
It's been a while since I heard that.
That's an old school Packers name, wide receiver there. He was a beast.
Isn't that the guy in the broken leg Matt PS?
Oh, that was Greg Jennings.
Oh, okay. I forget how many actually decent receivers the Packers have had.
The Packers receiver that always stood out to me first, just because it was Antonio Freeman, just because of it was always that Monday night game where like catch.
Freeman. They had Javon Walker for those years.
Javon Walker,
Jennings,
right?
Jordy Nelson.
Year when he took the kick return back and he did like a little half flip and then landed on his feet and took it in the end zone. Kind of Jerome Simpson-esque. That's what caught my eye on Jennings.
Yeah, Driver, good caller. That's my sports with it. So Packers, they move on to play. Well, we'll get into the divisional previews. You'll see our mugs on the next week on that. We'll get to maybe that a little bit here at the end with it. But so they get to play the Niners. Whatever at this point for them, I think that's another classics tight end there. Bubba Franks, that one out there. Bubba, was it Bubba tight end there?
Bubba Franks.
Bubba Franks was the other tight end besides Jermichael Finley in that.
Who was the guy that John Madden loved? The defensive tackle. It was like next to Reggie White, Gilbert Brown.
DJ Raji. Okay, yeah. You guys were going older than I was.
I was thinking like Gilbert Brown. I think he had like the face mask. He was like huge.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah. He was a classic guy there on it. All right. So what do I'm checking in on the Rams. I want to keep people updated on that as we move along. Jimmy, I got it 21-17 still.
It is still 21-17. The Lions have the ball and they're driving because Amon-Ra St. Brown is on a mission.
Yep, they're in LA territory now. St. Brown just got a first down, so.
Well, we talked about that Lions offense being able to out physical the Rams, right, Jordan? And that maybe it's happened a little bit.
We did a little bit, but right now, I mean, the Lions look like the more physical team right now, both on the ground and in the air. So, they're impressing me. We always knew they were physical. I mean, both backs were close to 1,000 yards, but right now it's these receivers. Amon-Ra's catching these balls, and he's
running angry.
Yeah, they didn't vote him in the Pro Bowl. He's on a mission. I mean, sure, he got some. I don't know if he was first or second team All Pro. He got some All Pro love, but you know, athletes are whatever they can use to motivate them as perceived hatred. He didn't make the Pro Bowl, so he's on a mission now.
Oh man! Imagine this guy. Imagine this guy on any other team. I think didn't every team pass on him? Yeah, Josh Reynolds.
We got drafted in round 6. Yeah, or round 5 or 6.
I mean, it's crazy. Some of these guys. It was funny. I was looking whenever I listened to the guys' lineups when they announce them. You know, especially on Sunday night, like where they're from. I'm always like, because you always think like the big colleges, and you're like, a lot of them are like TCU or like I'm about to say like, but like they're all spread out. It's not like these all dominant teams usually. And you're like, it's crazy. Even at the NFL level, it's like it's all about do you fit the team, do all that. So, all right, so let's get to the next one here, Pat. I feel like Cowboys. How about them?
Good them boys.
Yeah. Well, how about them? We'll give you a little tip of the cap.
Add to the tally of however many Cowboys fans got Super Bowl champion tattoos.
Jimmy, if I
add it to the list.
If I had
Smith's gonna have material all week.
If I had the time and the want to, I'd go back to every episode where we said, I don't trust the Cowboys. And then edit every time we could probably have 48 seconds of just
I'm
saying
pretty
that.
sure we said that last week. Who is the team most likely to get upset? The Dallas Cowboys.
All right, let's get to the other team in Texas, though, played a little bit better, guys. I know you guys talked a lot about it this morning, so I just want to maybe we'll kind of take a different angle at it than you guys went at it this morning when you talked about it with Brandon on there. I want to kind of, Rev, I kind of want to look at it from, we talked from what the team is saying about CJ Stroud. Like, that's, to me, what matters. Like, what his coach is playing, D'Amico Ryans is as charismatic a coach you could play for. I would think that you'd be jacked up to play for somebody like that. Just the energy he's bringing, especially when your team's winning, and the faith he's putting in this player as CJ Stroud, saying he's the reason we're here and we're in this position. And you look at some of the throws I'm going to get up on the screen here in just a little bit. I mean, the thing I like about the Texans, even though they miss a few of them, Rev, they really take shots with the deep ball.
Yeah, I love the fact that they trust him so much. And you look into how things were going heading into this year, you're thinking, okay, maybe Tank Dell could turn out because, well, he looked good like during the Senior Bowl and things like that. He gets injured, so that's another blow. You got Robert Woods, who's starting to get a little older, Noah Brown, who was a guy they just picked up from the Cowboys, John Mechie coming off from, I forgot what type of cancer he had that kept him out from last season, and then Nico Collins, who never quite lived up to his potential yet. Like, this is not necessarily a top 10 receiving group we're talking about right now. And CJ Stroud comes in, is handed the tools that he has right now. Like, imagine CJ Stroud with Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. He wasn't given that. But regardless, he stays calm, he stays composed, he makes the throws, and the moment just doesn't seem too big for him, which is impressive for a guy that young. Like, you saw that in the Georgia playoff game the year before. The moment is just not too big for him.
It is not I know that that's what you're going to say, Jordan. It's not that he played at Ohio State why he can handle big games. You know why he handles the big games like he does? Because nobody that's a rookie quarterback in the NFL has prepared the way that he does and constantly seeks out advice from other people around the league, other parts of his team. I'm pretty sure he sits in the defensive back meetings each week to try and talk with them, both giving them pointers about what he's looking for when they're trying to disguise coverage, and then they're giving him different things, different keys to look for. Also, like the plays that we're watching, that first touchdown to Schultz, that's
the second one.
It's pure scheme, and he knows where the guys are going to be. He's throwing those; they're anticipatory throws. That's a guy who's watched that play out 1.5 million times, both on screen, in his head, in the VR headset, on the field. This is a guy that takes no day off for his preparation. That's why we never see him get rattled, because he knows that he's seen about everything that another team can do to him every day over the past however many days that he's had to prepare. I think that's what is missed about CJ Stroud. It is, yes, he has big time experience from where he played college football. He was in the college football playoff, but this is not this CJ Stroud is so much different than the CJ Stroud that was in Columbus. This CJ Stroud whoops Georgia, even with the rosters the same. If CJ Stroud was as mature as he is right now, this is the biggest surprise to me since I've been doing broadcasting, radio, podcasting. I did not expect any of this. Yeah. I did not expect this level of success from him. He is single-handedly turning around this narrative about Ohio State quarterbacks because of what he's been able to do. So those guys are benefiting from him even more. This is something that shouldn't be. That's a good one.
That was my favorite play.
I should have stayed on the couch.
I should have stayed on there. I had Logan in here. This is how Browns feel. I know you're a Cowboys fan, so that's why you're next. This is how Browns feel though after a game like this. They need help. Like I was telling Doug when I was doing I did the basketball show with him after the game, and I was like, man, this is how franchises are. Some of them just can't get out of their own way. And like at the end of the day, maybe we just put too much stock into Flacco.
What?
You know what I mean? Like maybe we were like, Flacco's this, he's that. I mean, he throws those 2 pick sixes back to back. Yeah. I mean, do you guys think real quick on the Browns, like, was it Flacco's game or was that just more Stroud was just a stud and Flacco couldn't keep up?
I think it's 50-50, but kind of going back to the first comment you made about the organization, I mean, they had 27% of their starters are on the IR.
That's true.
And they still got it done. 5 different quarterbacks.
I'm not taking away credit from that. I'm more just saying if we take that to the next level, which is playoff success as a fan, like you guys struggle with the Bengals, like Jimmy said. I mean, a tier on AFC Championship Sunday, that's not normal. Like that's because it doesn't happen. So as a Browns fan, that's where they're at now. It's like you get a little taste. And it's like ripped out of your heart. It's ripped out because Joe Flacco's your, you know what I mean? That's what I mean as an NFL fan, because it's a grind. You're like, okay, I got to wait all the way to next year now, and we'll see what happens. So I don't know. Is the defense going to be as good next year? So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and while Flacco does have to stomach some of that blame, in which he looked good for about a quarter and a half and kind of sputtered away. However, something needs to be said about this top 5 defense that gave up under 200 passing yards a game and was so stout all season.
It was a majority at home.
And
their 2 starting safeties were out yesterday. I mean, that to me, I mean,
showed.
Look at what happened to the Bengals all season. 2 starting safeties walk in free agency, and we struggled all year to rebuild it. 2 starting safeties go out in a playoff game. That to me, that's pretty big. You're losing your main communicators in the secondary that keeps everybody in line.
That's a blow, definitely. But then on the other hand, you still have your Denzel Ward and your Greg Newsome one-on-one with the Texans receiving core, which I don't think anyone had an idea, in which also them on the other hand not having Tank Dell, which is also their second leading receiver all season, in which teams are dealing with their blows. I mean, this Texas offensive line has been battered and bruised all season. Like Kendrick Green getting hurt. We didn't really see much of, I'm trying to remember the other, either Ken Yin, the guy that they drafted in the first round, or Kendrick Green. Like, this was also team shuffling quite a bit here. And ultimately, you got Myles Garrett, your first team All-Pro candidate, a good chunk of the rest of the defense coming back and healthy at the end of the year, and they got gashed.
I think if you're a Browns fan, it feels a little bit more demoralizing. Like the way that game went out, 45-14. It wasn't really even a battle. And then those 2 pick sixes that happens with it. And then like just the deep bombs, like they couldn't fight back at that point, and they were done. And what was it? I think Jimmy brought the defense on the road, right? Like that's not. It hasn't translated. That was the one spot they weren't able to kind of keep it going, was on the road. And the Texans, at the end of the day, if you were a Browns fan, you're like, what team would you want to play in the playoffs? I would have thought this is the team you would have wanted to play. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the team I'd rather play. But maybe it is Reds Steelers that we'll get into a little bit later here in a little bit. But I don't know. That was the most interesting. It wasn't the most interesting game to me going into the week, but I picked the Texans on that one. I did get right. Finally got one right, but it was more just because of that Browns mojo. It's more like there's something I believe in those things that the Texans were able to overcome it. Well, Jimmy, I'm with you a little bit. Maybe we got to start counting.
Mojo.
Maybe rookie QBs don't matter anymore. Who knows? That's part of it. Maybe that doesn't matter anymore. Those rookie QBs. Come on, buddy. You got to get into it.
I'm not going to say that, because then it's going to feed into your co-host and his delusional quest to try and get everybody else to take Brock Purdy seriously, even though he's got the best running back, tight end, left tackle, receiver, defense,
breaking news,
GM. What else can they have?
Exactly. He's got everything that he wants on his team. Is it breaking news that that the Lions kicked a field goal? Is that count as breaking news now, people on the football world? Is that
it's not breaking anymore, because it's not breaking anymore because it was the last one, and now the Rams are driving on the other end.
I know, we got that. So now they're moving the ball. They got a chance to tie it up here on 7. Oh, as we're looking into, we're getting close to probably.
The Lions defense is not good. They're just not good. I don't know what anybody was expecting.
It's improved, but yeah, there's still
it's improved, but it's not Stafford and McVay proof. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely another edge rusher to complement Aiden Hutchinson could help. Definitely. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people just look at it good because of Hutchinson? Just that name or something like that? Or just because they got to the playoffs and they're physical? I mean, that we'll see what happens with them. But so they're 24-17. What are we at? Third quarter here, 4:23 left. They got the ball in the red zone. Jimmy will keep us updated here if they get in the end zone here soon, and we'll let you know, tie it up. We have a tied ball game going to the fourth quarter. Is that possible? Is that humanly possible to happen? Yeah. We'll get into that later, Logan, just to let you know here. Go ahead, Rev.
Oh no, I'll just say it looks like it. I don't got nothing.
Yeah, no, I got you on that. All right, so we talked that. All right, I've never out here 40. It got as cold as 45 degrees out here in Northern California where I live. But around the rest of the country, it sounds like
We're in single digits over here.
but around the rest of the country, it sounds like it was hell. And so it was -5 when we had the other night there where we had our guy, everybody like just freezing out there in Kansas City. It kind of just felt like all the cards, like any worst case scenario for the Dolphins could have happened, right? Everybody going down with injuries. Oh yeah, we're also going to throw. You can't even have a Teddy Bruschi in the stadium at you. Like nothing can happen at the game there, and they still get the win there. The Chiefs look great. Jimmy, what do you make of a game like this where it just felt like these games are weird to me where it's like the Dolphins had it felt like no chance because of the weather situation a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Dolphins need to show up a little bit more. But what did you make of it?
There's nothing. I mean, the weather made it. I feel like all the weather did was slow the Chiefs down a little bit more, even though they still kind of boat raced them and beat them by almost 20.
Yeah.
This was the same team. This was the same team that we've seen over the years. Like last year, the excuse was we had a backup quarterback. I said that this morning too. This year, what's the excuse going to be? You have the quarterback that you tried to build around. You have the coach that you brought in to help and whisper to this quarterback. And he's funny. He's funny. He's nice. He's trying to be all this kind of stuff, but it doesn't translate. And it didn't translate. They were fraudulent. You did not beat more than one team with a winning record. Okay. How did we ever expect them to be successful in the playoffs when you can't even do that? You had the Bills trying to hand you the division. I remember after watching Buffalo get destroyed by the Bengals, I was like, well, now that we know that the Dolphins are going to win AFC East because the Bills absolutely suck. And what happened? Oh, you lost it to them in the last week. And
I'm with you on that. I feel real quick here. Shout out my wife. Yes, hello, kids. If you're out there watching, I appreciate you. Douglas, if you're out there, too. Frank, run back on defense. Remember that was what we said yesterday. Derek, run back. Xavier, stop fouling people. That's what he. That's Coach Daren.
Hey, they give you 5 for a reason. Hello. They give you 5 of those fouls for a reason. You're supposed to use them. You don't get to take them home with you.
I appreciate exactly. That's what I told him. He got 4, so he stayed in the game. I didn't take him out for a lot, but that happened. So that's what happens in second grade basketball.
Field goal by the Rams, 24-20.
Looks like Matt Stafford looked a little shaken up for a second on the bench, but I don't know if it's
he got lit
was that Stafford's finger from earlier? Because
that one was he just took a shot to the ribs as he was also getting sacked by
Hutchinson. He got hit by Hutchinson. It wasn't a sack, but he got hit.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Now
he got hit pretty good.
All right,
he'll be back.
Jordan, real quick, is this more the Chiefs are back or the Dolphins were more frauds?
At 110%, I said it this morning. The Dolphins were frauds.
Okay, so just 100% frauds. All right.
I'm gonna retread Jimmy a little bit because one win over 500. Your coach is a locker room guy, not very serious, and it kind of showed in this playoff game. So many times they were in third down situations. Offensive line penalty after penalty, pre-snap error after pre-snap error. They just put themselves behind the chains all night. They looked totally out of sync. They really didn't change the playbook that much. We're throwing passes east to west with defenders clearly not being fooled. McDuffie's right there about every time. Just totally looked undisciplined. Totally didn't look ready. We can say, home field advantage, but at -30 degrees, both quarterbacks are playing in the same thing, and both quarterbacks had totally different results. And to me, that came down to coaching and exactly what we saw Miami do all year. I think we got fantasized in the game. They scored 60-plus points. They had 70. Speed. We were all excited.
It was the Broncos.
Look at
and, I hate the Broncos. I want to make sure it was 70.
We were fooled. They pulled the blinds on people. They gave us snake oil all season long, and a lot of people thought what putting out. But I still think Kansas City's going to struggle, but it's more on Miami. Kansas City have some swagger going into it. They did show some toughness, but in my opinion, Miami was 100% frauds.
Is no Jay Fiedler. Yes, go ahead, Rev.
Yeah, and before the game, basically what Kansas City did was go over to Isaiah Pacheco and say, well, it's going to be a negative. This is your game, Isaiah Pacheco. Just run loose like the angry, wild man pinball of a running back you are and just run all over these boys. And that's exactly what he did here. Like, man, Miami at times you just saw defensive players kind of going around blocks kind of timidly, arm tackling and stuff like that. And you're not going to survive trying to arm tackle a guy who runs with the intensity of Isaiah Pacheco. And basically, KC ran all over them. Something that you got to be encouraged if you're a KC fan is the fact that the offense was moving the ball, and it wasn't necessarily because of Travis Kelce being the main kind of go-to guy. It was really a big game from Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco, kind of your second and third in command. And they stepped up after a kind of pedestrian game from Travis Kelce.
I want to get some of the comments here. We'll get back to that real quick with it. As Rev, I have it up on the screen just for people to know that. Just real quick, the chip play of the helmet coming off. I'm not sure if you guys have ever experienced that in the cold out there.
Shit, damn it. Really? It's the same thing when Nike saw Zion almost blow his knee in their shoes. Like, damn it.
That was so. I mean, that game will never. I will stay with it because I think I remember Obama was at that game and they were like, "Man, a huge deal." And they're like, literally a minute in the game, he goes down. And it's like, well, that took the energy of it. They were all excited about the president being there. And it's like, nope, that's not happening. All right, hey, we got a couple comments here. Like I said, I like this one, the Jay Fielder. If you're an old school Raiders, got there. How about them Packers? Josh Edwards, my guy on 7th inning stretch, and the Lions. I know you picked the Packers. I know you got it right. I'm sorry, I got that. I didn't get that one. Stafford's hurt. Looks like he's in the blue tent. Maybe we'll keep you updated on that one. Maybe he's back here. We still got 24-20 there. And then we got your guy here. Maybe Nico wouldn't be poetic because Stafford did come back and win on it. Yes, it would be poetic.
Me.
That was
I'm also interacting with the chat.
All right, let me go. If that's you with it, then I like that comment, Jimmy, because that would be very poetic. I do believe in those things with it.
I wish it was a separated shoulder because that was where the Stafford story started to be really a thing. But broken ribs work just fine.
The legend of Matt Stafford. Is that as a cold weather person? If somebody's played football. Does that I guess my question to you guys, you guys grew up in it in Denver. Jordan, I'm assuming where in Ohio gets cold out there too. It's very cold out there. How do you even start getting warm to hit people? Or is it like you get so numb and you don't feel it anymore? Like, what do you do in that situation? That to me has always amazed me. Like in football, is like with these ice conditions, how I don't know how they can hit the ground as many times. I don't know. It just amazes me a little bit.
You just got to hope that you never stop moving. Like you're always on the field because the more time, like on offense, because Rev and I were offensive linemen in college, it got pretty cold. We never really had to play in like that extreme of temperature. But if the wind is blowing and you're on offense and the defense just stays out there and they can't get stops and they're converting, that's when it really starts to be like, whose advantage is this? We're playing at home right now, but I can't feel anything. Like my fingers and toes are totally numb. I have a jacket on, but it's not doing a thing. You want to be constantly out there. So in a perfect world, if you're playing in a game that cold, it's like scoring 5 plays, defense gets a 3 and out. Scoring 5-6 plays, defense gets a 3 and out, because then you get both sides of the ball moving and nobody ever gets too cold. But inevitably, that's what ends up happening is like one side does get frozen.
I'm kind of going to piggyback what Jimmy said here and there. Yeah, like the more you move, the more you can kind of ignore it because you're working up a sweat. You're getting warmed up. But if you're like a bench player or, a second string guy, or if you're on the sidelines for a while, not really moving, that's when the cold really gets. And it always affects everyone differently. But yeah, it gets to my toes and my fingers right away. So like, yeah, you gotta stay moving to try to ignore it really. So
that's why
you feel the better.
That's why you mean Adam Vinatieri's snow kick is still one of the best under. Like, how the heck this guy sat out all day and kicks it? I wonder Jordan too as a coach. Like, you got to think like from a health standpoint too. Like, if they're sitting out too long, like I don't know. I guess not. There's like maybe not NFL wise, but your guys maybe at the high school level. No, they don't care at all. It's cold.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I treat them the same way they treated me in the Marine Corps. Fucking go.
Suck it up.
Suck it up. You're
Suck
here.
It up, Buttercup. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Especially if we're playing games late in the season that are meaningful and they're that old, you're there for a fucking reason. So and I'm sure both these gentlemen can agree with me. You're there for a reason. You want to keep them moving. I never had guys stay stagnant. Always cared about their feet. Always checking on each other, stuff like that in nature.
Do a push-up, man. Do a push-up. Warm up.
Seriously, do some burpees. Run a mile.
Jump in place, run in place, do something like
or go the Mark Schlereth technique and piss yourself because it is warm.
That's true.
Or you really gotta reach down in that area. Just put your hand in your pants, basically. Just make sure your hands stay warm. Like that's
the Tim Brown ball. That's our
I'm smuggling some ice cubes. Why are your legs shaking? My fingers froze my balls together.
Yeah, man, natural warmth down there, man.
Hand warmers in your socks and put in your again.
That's great. I mean, that did not look comfortable to play in there with it. Hana, just tell the kids earmuffs. Remember that. If somebody cut, you just got to say earmuffs. That's it's all you say.
I'm not a role model. This is not my role model position.
All right, hey, so Chiefs get that win there. Yeah. So they move on. We'll see where tomorrow goes with the Bills game there. See where they end up getting the matchup with. Wentz to the rescue. Yes, your boy Wentz.
Oh yeah, the Red Bomber.
The Red Bomber is in right now. Is he actually at 24-20? We're getting started the fourth quarter here. 4:53 left in it. It's a Lions ball right now. Looks like it's going to get to.
It's Lions. I'm pretty sure it's a Lions ball. They're coming back now on my stream. So,
yeah, I like my favorite coach in bundle is always Bill Belichick there. All right, hey, give me one of this question of the week. Row one, Brand here one. Just give me quick. Come to your mind with it. Rev, if I say favorite wild card memory from the past, is there like a game or something that sticks out in your mind right away?
Well, right away is going to be what that's going to make Jimmy shake his head. I'm thinking about that Bengals game in which it was kind of back and forth, but then like some shenanigans on Cincinnati's end, whether it's Vontaze Burfict losing his head and just doing what he instinctually does.
We're going to forget about Joey Porter.
I was going to say Joey Porter started it.
That's cool.
I mean, there's definitely a give or take in there. You know, Pac-Man Jones is
give and take.
Pac-Man Jones is one of the more provocable people out there.
We can't be defending Vontaze Burfict like this. We can't be defended. I can defend the team, but I'm not defending Vontaze.
Vontaze was like step one. Step two.
I've met Vontaze in person. I'll defend him to the end.
That was bad. He's just a dirty. He played really dirty. Really dirty.
If Jeremy Hill doesn't fumble the ball, we're not in that situation. Period.
There's a lot of things that we could have done to not be in that. Jordan, you don't know my story with this game. I ran my mouth so much before because that was the year that we started 15-0. So I was like, "Oh, we're good. We get the monkey off our back against the Steelers," and everybody in my 4,000 person high school knew that we were who I was cheering for that weekend. I nearly had to take a week off of school, like the first 4 days of that week. Yeah, both of those Tuck rule.
Well, that was divisional.
Brother, I took personal leave off in the Marine Corps to go to my first NFL game, and that was it.
Oh man!
You would talk about a meltdown. I feel your pain.
That game was personal.
I wasn't able to numb my pain at that point. I was only 17, but I do remember that like it was yesterday.
How about the Denver Miracle? They got all right. That's my sports up here. Tebow, we got the Tucker.
That was like Tebow's only good passing game.
That was his only. Yeah, that was the engaging blitz. That was the all-out blitz that came back to bite me. Shannon cheers.
Nothing was sweeter than getting on Twitter and saying Tebow time.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to Marius Thomas, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the first one that jumps out at me is the Packers-Niners. But Owens. That's like as a kid, that was the first one over the middle.
The 49ers radio guy is a legend.
Yeah.
I will give Tyler and Brian that their radio guys is really good. He's one of the guys that I've listened to before.
He's the same guy that made the call for the big game, the famous lateral too, where they score at that big game. He's the same announcer for that. He was the same announcer for the Cal Bears as well.
Oh yeah. I
thought
you were talking about the one where he goes, where Steve Young almost fell down. He's like, cuts it back again, and he gets away again.
Minnesota Miracle, the Christian Ponder stands out in my mind.
Oh, that's a good one right there. Yeah, that's a good wild card. I mean, obviously the first one I remember is my parents were looking for a house at the time. I was like, I think I was 9.5, and I was really, obviously I'm big into sports there. And like this guy had the game on the radio. I just remember like back then that was a big deal. 94. It kind of had a little walking radio. And he's like, yeah, the Oilers are up big on the Bills right now. And then of course the famous game where the Bills come back.
Right.
That one always sticks out
man.
as well. And then one more I have to get in. It goes back to the Niners just because obviously it's a Bear to do. It was the one with the Giants when they were up 38-14, and they couldn't snap a football on a field goal. And they could like the whole game. That was another one that kind of stands out to me as ones that were blown. So wild card. There's some good memories out there with some of these games.
Yeah, I gotta put another one out there. I just remember that Beastquake run with Seattle versus New Orleans. Oh, no, that's just another one. Just the level of ferocity and him. Stiff Arby. I don't know if it was Darren Sharper or Roman Harper. I'm forgetting who it was.
I'm hoping it was Darren Sharper.
Yeah, I'm hoping it was Darren Sharper because obviously he's a scumbag. But either way, the way he just racked on that safety and then did the hold my nuts, dive into the end zone. Legendary.
Rev, a little positive for you. I do remember the Browns, Tommy Maddox over Holcomb and the Browns. That's one that stands out to me too. Wild card 2002 area. I remember Tommy Maddox people getting a wild card in there too. So there's a few of them with it. Hey, it came out earlier. Logan asked it earlier. Let's get into it now. We've had a lot of comments there. Appreciate people tuning in with it into the show here, talking the Gridiron playoff side. Well, we was talking about the coaches there with it, like Belichick and Harbaugh and Carroll. I guess my next question kind of is we kind of get to about the third and about close to the fourth quarter of the show here. Hall of Fame coaches, Belichick, they're available. Carroll's gone, Saban's gone. Are they all done coaching, or do you think is Belichick guaranteed to come back? Like, I don't know, Jimmy. Is he gonna come back? Is it guaranteed he comes back? Carroll sounds.
I don't know if any of them are guaranteed to come back. Like, these are all some advanced gentlemen. They might want to, and I think there's going to be places that want them to come back. Saban's interesting to me because it seemed like he was involved in the hiring process of his successor. So maybe he stays down there as more of an advisor, because that might have been how they talked to, like, okay, you can retire, but just stay on as an advisor because we want to make sure the program doesn't, what you built, we want to make sure that we can keep the infrastructure in place. So I don't know about that whole thing. I would say that they probably want to coach. It sounds like Carroll definitely wants to coach, and Belichick might be, if he gets the right situation, he might want to prove that he can win one without Brady. But honestly, out of those three names, I'm not really excited about. If I was a team that was in need of a coach, I wouldn't be looking for. I'm not trolling the aged out home for my next head coach. I'm not looking for the nursing home wing of Canton where I can find my next coach.
Rev, I kind of think Carroll. It'd be interesting for me. I don't feel the same way about Belichick, but to me, it'd be kind of interesting if Carroll went back to college.
Definitely a little bit, because Pete Carroll always kind of had like that. They kind of have, when you look at Nick Saban and his serious, strict, stern approach, Pete Carroll is always a lot more on the friendlier side, like a bit of a, I don't know if you want to call him a player's coach, but he was definitely a lot more rah. And that definitely appeals to more college people. However, I kind of get the feeling that, at least it's kind of being hinted that Carroll wants to stick around in Seattle and at least be around behind the scenes, if not a coach. I could definitely see Carroll and Belichick coming back. However, with Nick Saban, it just feels like over these last couple of years, you keep getting like these kind of like jabs and these pokes at the NIL system. And it's not that I don't think he can compete in the NIL era with Alabama, but you can definitely tell you kind of felt like sour grapes when you ever hear Nick Saban talking about the level playing field in the NCAA and how NIL is ruining the game and this and that. Like, I don't know if Saban comes back.
Yeah, I think he's done. I agree with you on him. I just kind of found it funny that all three kind of hung up the hat like within 2 or 3 days. Maybe Carroll didn't choose to, as he said. Not enough football people were making the decisions there in the room. That's what he thought overall within. These guys are all in their 70s. They've been around a long time. I don't know. I know some of our Falcons guys, they said they might be able to make it.
Tired of this, Grandpa.
The Falcons have been intriguing, Belichick. I've heard things with that. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting which one maybe comes back. Jordan, any final thoughts on those guys?
I think out of the three that we're discussing, I definitely think Belichick comes back first. I think he has more of a chip on his shoulder because it was kind of a mutual parting ways. People are kind of questioning his legacy right now. So at least personally, do NFL teams fish for it? 6 rings is hard to ignore, Tom Brady or not. Mac Jones didn't pan out quite like they thought they would. So that's not 100% on him from a coaching perspective and organization perspective. They haven't brought in the big free agents names that we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing the Randy Mosses and the Welkers and kind of so on and so forth. The Corey Dillons that they bring in. And the last couple of years, we haven't seen that.
No.
So I definitely think that Belichick is going to have the more of the itch out of the 3 candidates. And I think definitely you look at places like Atlanta. I'm going to put Dallas on my mind, especially because I think it would be absurd if McCarthy came back. I think their defense, I don't think they hire in-house because of the performance.
No.
And Jerry Jones always likes to be in the headlines. So I think that's one of the first calls he makes. But I do think at least comes back.
I think with the LA Chargers right now, that's another spot in which might tempt Belichick. I think in a situation in which you kind of have your established quarterback, but you might want a defensive-minded coach to fulfill whatever holes you have on the defensive end. And that sounds like where the Chargers are at right now, even though this season showed that they're maybe a little too dependent on stars and need more depth overall. It still is a team in which the quarterback situation seems set, and they need to fill some voids everywhere else. And Belichick could be a coach for that type of situation. I don't know if Belichick could build a rookie quarterback at this point. If you have a good quarterback established already, Belichick can kind of fill up some voids here and there. But just don't let him be a GM. Do not let him draft.
No, do not. We've learned that. That is suicidal. That is a great. Do not let him be a GM at all.
Yeah, don't let him draft Cole Strange in the first round again.
Jimmy, are the Rams in the red zone here?
The Rams are they're driving. They've been in the red zone twice so far and only come away with field goals. We'll see. Anzalone just is staying down on the field right now for the Lions.
So we got 8:40 left, something like that in the game, in 9 minutes.
8:22. It's third down and it's like third down and 10.
Do you think the Rams would go for it in this situation? Or think they'd kick a field goal to go 24-23 if they don't get it?
With the way that they've been able to kind of slow down the Lions offense, they might be
kicking the field goal.
McVay's a little bit more conservative than Dan Campbell is. So
2 field goals, you win the game. So I think you got to go there with it. That's why I would do it. What do you guys think of Mayo in New England? I think it's a fine. We'll see how he does. I always feel like these coaches are in tough spots when they go to situations like this, and so we'll see how Mayo does.
Good thing for him is that he's not following a ton of success, and he's been the guy that they've had decided as the successor for a long time. That's why Josh McDaniels left as many times as he did. As much as Belichick liked McDaniels, he was never going to be the successor. It was always going to be Gerard Mayo once they brought him in.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's my sports. Those guys work at my local grocery store. No, who are those guys? But the wide receivers there. Sunday night here. So we're in the red zone. Jimmy will keep us up there. That's it. All right, let's get here toward the end of it. Rev, who you got? Maybe you got the Steelers. Number 7 seed. We moved it. The weather. It did look a little tough. It looked like it might have been hard to catch a ball out there today in Buffalo.
There are flashbacks to last year.
So 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, the game kicks off tomorrow. 1:30 lunchtime out here, people. A little late lunch, I guess. We go number 7 seed versus Buffalo. Can another number 7 seed do it, Rev? How do you feel about this game? I got Bills, Steelers, both came up late. They came up the last little runs here to finish the season. Buffalo, I'm a 10-point favorite. Rev, how you feeling about this game as a Steelers fan?
There's definitely your brain picks, heart picks. However, even though I'm a Steelers fan and I'm going to be more inclined to go with my heart pick here, there's something here that makes things a little bit more valid when it comes to the chance of an upset here. When it comes to the Buffalo side of things, you hear the chat on Twitter every once in a while where people are wondering why don't they just play in a dome? Like they have this all-time when it comes to freakish talents, one of the most freakishly talented quarterbacks ever to play the game. They've struggled to establish a running game. Like I like James Cook what he's done this year, but ever since Allen has really broken out since 2020, the running game has definitely been something that they haven't had consistent success in. And when you consider those things, you have to wonder, well, why haven't they built a dome? Why do they do this to themselves? Like their running game is not established enough to play in the climate that they play in.
There's a little bit of weather there. Yeah.
That doesn't look too tough right there. What are you talking about?
At all.
It's just a tornado.
When you consider,
I showed that to my wife. She's like, she's like, what is that? And she's like, is that the water out there? I was like, this is Buffalo Bills Stadium, right?
That's snow. What is she talking? That's snow.
Because for the video, because it looks like waves at the bottom of it with the water. It looks like water.
Yeah, there's a foot of snow.
Too much time on the West
It
Coast.
was it's 45 degrees out here. I saw snowfall for the very first time last year. I haven't. I'm 39.
And that's the thing. Like when you have a team that's built maybe like more of a smash mouth run oriented team, maybe it would make sense to play outside in cold climates like that. But when you have a high powered, high flying, pass heavy offense, but you're playing in those temperatures, like it's probably they should probably suggest at some point soon moving into a dome to make these easier for Josh Allen. And then you also have to consider the fact that he can be mistake prone because they rely on him to do so much, whether it's 60 degrees or -10 or whatever it is. They're going to have to rely on Josh Allen to chuck up a lot of passes in this situation. And I don't know if their run game is as established as what we've seen lately in Pittsburgh with the double-headed monster Jalen Warren and Najee Harris on the other hand, and what they've been doing in the latter half of the year where it feels like they figure out the identities of maybe you want to go east-west and use Jalen Warren as a receiving back. Najee Harris, you're 240 pounds. Stop trying to cut to the outside. Just run downhill. And that's been working a lot lately. So if the running game kind of slow the game down and Josh Allen has one of those 2-3 pick, like the one he had last week where they got to the red zone and he threw 2 picks in the red zone. Like, this is one of those situations with as mistake-prone as Josh Allen is and with the circumstances of the climate and the weather, like, this is one of those games where I wouldn't be surprised at all if Pittsburgh pulled one out. Like, I'm confident.
And Jordan, that's weird. Like with the weather, like, are you commenting, or you were on with us last time, or when we did the pod there with Tyler? Allen can't lose this game. He can't lose. It's not like even if there's bad weather, it's just like I feel like this is a game they can't lose.
It's 110% a game they can't lose, and everybody kind of forgets Buffalo is kind of hot too. They are on a streak. They're on a streak that kind of reminds me when Eli won his first ring.
It does.
They're getting kind of the run game together. Josh Allen's still kind of throwing those boneheaded interceptions, but the defense is playing much improved. You're seeing a pass rush they really haven't generated all year. They're getting to the quarterback. They're kind of being solid against the run. The secondary is still kind of spotty at times, but they kind of have a more of a complete package. And it's kind of their version of what the Cowboys game was earlier. They for their legacy to move forward, they cannot lose this game. Josh Allen cannot lose this game. He's got to prove his worth. He's going to lose the locker room completely. I don't think Stephon Diggs hangs around. If they do lose this game, I think that's kind of a bold prediction. He's going to force them to kind of trade him. I think there's just too many things going south if he doesn't win this game tomorrow. The Steelers are still kind of I'm not totally bought on them. No TJ Watt. I think that's going to play a huge factor.
Yeah, that'll be a hit.
Come playoff football. It's going to give Josh Allen more time in the pocket. He's going to be able to do more things than he would with Watt there. So my guess is the Bills. I think the Steelers are going to bring it. They're going to play smash mouth AFC North football, as much as I hate to say it, but I think the Bills get away with one.
I've got the Bills fans. Look how crazy they are out here. They're helping shovel the snow or whatever you call this, riding the wave. I don't know what you guys do out here. I'm guessing a few beverages might have been involved to be able to have a shirt off there. And that's just a few. I'm sure he is sleeping well somewhere in the snow. Hopefully he's alive if you have one of it. So if he had it, he's alive out there.
He's dead.
He was dead out there.
Dear God, he's dead.
I saw that. And Buffalo Bill
You
fans
killed
are
Kenny.
it's built a little different there. So Rev, I'm looking forward to the game just because the Steelers have a way, but we've seen this before in the playoffs where they get blown out as the 7th seed as well. So Jimmy, you're going Bills, I'm assuming too.
I will never actively
Yep.
root for the Steelers, but I do think that they're tough enough. Obviously, like I can hate the Steelers, but I can also acknowledge what they are. And the reason why I hate them as much as I do is because they're successful. And it's hilarious because we were in Wyoming last weekend, and apparently my head coach, I forgot he's from like the Pennsylvania area, so he's a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
I was wearing Bengals sweatpants. He's like, "Oh, you're a Bengals fan?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hate. You can't hate the Steelers." I said, "I do hate the Steelers. I do." It's like, "What?" Because you always beat us. Oh, right. I just never really think about you guys. Yeah, I know. I got it. I got it. Thank you very much.
We don't really think about it. Yeah, that. It's funny. Like that's how people feel me as a Raiders fan. Like, oh yeah, what? Yeah, exactly. We don't even worry about that out there. So this is an interesting game. Like I said, for me, 1:30 start out here, 2:30 Mountain Time, 4:30 Eastern Time start. You get the Bills and Steelers. We'll see what the weather's like there. 24-23 right now, and that Lions game got a little bit up here on the screen. Kind of we'll get that up there for you once in a while. Let's get to the under Monday night. It was supposed to be the only Monday night game. As we're getting to the end here, Eagles at Bucks. Eagles Brown is not going to be available for them as well. They're still a 3-point favorite. Jordan over the Bucks. You like the Eagles to pull this out still, or do you think the Bucks? I mean, it's not like they got into the playoffs great, 9-0 over the Panthers. So right. I mean, how do you kind of evaluate this one?
I'm evaluating a pure locker room. The Eagles look like a mess. Jalen Hurts has said some choice words about his teammates in press conferences this year, unlike other years past. The coaching staff looks like they're often confused. Players look like they don't want to play. A lot of finger pointing, and usually winning kind of helps, but they're on a losing streak. And when it rains, it pours in professional sports. I don't see him getting it together. Jalen Hurts is kind of banged up. AJ Brown's not available. I know the Buccaneers win last week, 9-0 to the nobody Carolina Panthers. Didn't look pretty, but it was a divisional game, so I got to kind of keep that in the back of my mind. Those teams hate each other. They play each other twice a year. And when you're playing your own division, you kind of throw records out the window most of the time. So maybe they were just trying to play spoiler there and end on a high note in Carolina. But I give it to Baker Mayfield. He's having a phenomenal year numbers wise. He's not committing a lot of turnovers. Mike Evans is having a phenomenal year, kind of a bounce back year from last year. Godwin's healthy. We're kind of seeing that in the route tree that he's kind of running. He's being used in the screen game, being used in directional east to west. A lot of things that we didn't get to see early in the season because he came into the year banged up. I think they're hitting the strides at the right time. Do I think the Bucs go past the first round? No, but they definitely get past the Eagles.
Wow, this is. I think the Lions here, just real quick. I think they're going to have a big 4th down play decision here. We'll see what they do here. Just as you're tuning in while you're watching us on Talking the Gridiron, we've had a lot of people tuning in the chat here. Appreciate you're coming in with it. A lot of people retweeting the show as well. Appreciate that on the X doing that. Jimmy, it's good takes there from Jordan. What do you make of it?
I said at the beginning, I said during our show this week that, it is the playoffs, so you could have a team that just flips the switch. Not a team that goes the way that the Eagles did towards the end of the season. And I think the deciding factor was the Week 18 debacle that was like they played their starters in that game so that they can get a little momentum going into the playoffs and got starched by Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
That's really the statement that I have to keep circling back to. I don't think Tampa Bay is very good. And I think this one could be there's been some ugly games so far this week. This one might be the ugliest of the ugly because I don't think that either team is going to be all that successful. And it's going to be like 1 or 2 times where everything clicks on one play. And that's going to be the deciding factor. It might be like a 7-6 game. Like one team's able to score a touchdown. The other team kicks 2 field goals. That's it.
That's supposed to be my primetime game. You're telling me I'm getting 7-6, 5-15? That's my primetime game? Yeah, that's my
It's
come
not
on.
a very good matchup. I don't know what you. I mean, if
I'm-
anybody else in the NFC could have taken that spot, it would have been better.
Rev, what do you make? You got the Eagles. You got the Eagles. You got it with the Bucks here.
So the tricky part about picking this game is the fact that neither of these teams are really entering the game with good momentum. Obviously, with Philadelphia losing 5 of their last 6, and then the Buccaneers, the last 2 weeks of the season, losing to New Orleans, and then barely squeaking by against an abysmal Carolina team. So neither team necessarily has great momentum on one end of the ball. Philadelphia, that defense, it just kind of felt like they went stale and just got bad overnight, in which – you see the first half of the year, Jalen Carter is looking like a solid defensive rookie of the year candidate, looking real explosive. Pass rush is solid as it should be with Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, the guys that have a rotation. Second half comes around and it's like Darius Slay and James Bradbury just got old overnight. They can't cover to save their lives, which is a nightmare considering you're going up against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the other side, and this is the time in which the coverage has looked worse than it's ever been, despite the fact that they made a move for Kevin Byard. But seems like that hasn't really helped, if anything. And when you look at that, when you look at the overall matchups and think, what's the biggest mismatch on the entire game? It's the Tampa Bay's receivers versus Philadelphia secondary, which has really just looked shot over the last couple of weeks. Even Tyrod Taylor in the game they won was finding success in the second half. So I would like to say Philadelphia. However, Jalen Hurts, it just seems like this year compared to last year, like his progression as a quarterback has not been linear. It kind of feels like he's regressed.
I like that.
Yeah. If you feel like he's kind of regressed a little bit when it comes to like his ability to be your pocket quarterback. And
how much of that do you think is on the coordinators changing?
Oh, yeah, you definitely – both offensive and defensive coordinators changing, which seem to have affected him. And I would like to think that, like, this Philadelphia team, even without A.J. Brown playing, has too much talent to the point where I think if they could at least put things together and have, like, a B game on the offensive side of the ball, and then the defense do just enough to shut down the running game and give up a play here or there, they can squeak out an ugly matchup and perhaps lose in division. So I think Philadelphia, their offense kind of gathers it together enough to get a victory here. But I don't think they win another one past wild card.
And it'll be interesting tomorrow, like with the Baker take. It'll be like I feel like if he gets a win tomorrow over the Eagles, that kind of elevates him to it. Not like a special level, but just a different way people I think look at him. Even with them struggling, I still think he gets a little love in the media. I don't know, a little bit more for a little bit here with it. All right, last part of the show here with it. I got it. Kyrie, what do you got? Kyrie
Williams might be injured, but now Puka Nacua is going up the sideline. The Rams are going to probably take the lead on this drive. If I was a betting man,
they're on the 40.
They're on the 10.
They started at the 4-yard line and they just made it all the way out to at least midfield. But the Lions cannot cover Puka Nacua.
Okay, I see the play now.
What's he got today? He got 181 yards.
All the yards.
181. He's just a beast. Hey, he might be this real quick. Then we'll get out of here. We can all watch the last 4 minutes of the show here, talking the gridiron with it. Game ball of the week. I got Jordan Love just because I just thought how confident he was in the game today. We talked about it enough, but he's my game ball for the week. Jimmy, you got maybe a game ball that you want to give? I know we still got a couple games tomorrow, but just somebody that maybe stood out to you.
I'm going to say I gave Jair Alexander a shout out already. I guess I'll go with I'll give a shout out to D'Amico Ryans because
good call.
He's just doing it. It's incredible what he's doing, and he's made the correct step every point that he needed to, giving the guys confidence, showing that they have full faith in their quarterback, and now like this is as juiced up as your team's going to be. They could win. But he's done everything he can do, and I know that he's going to prepare and try and make sure their game plan's ready, but I feel like he's done everything right so far. So D'Amico Ryans gets a game ball because that was a huge win.
Rev, game ball for you?
I'm leaning towards a couple of guys in Kansas City here. I was thinking I was thinking maybe Rashee Rice because he had
need.
130 yards in the snow. However, I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball here because they shut down an impressive Miami Dolphins offense. And as for that player of the game, I'm going to have to give it to George Karlaftis, who had 1.5 sacks and was really terrorizing that Miami backfield. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to the defense and give Karlaftis that player of the week.
I like that. I'm based on the way you guys are reacting. Mr. Higbee got hit pretty hard.
It was one of those ones where he dives at the knees and the guy did a flip, but defender happened to catch him right as his leg planted, so he hyperextended the knee before he did his front flip.
All right, let's see if I can get
tight ends have to. What about secondaries versus tight ends? Whenever a tight end gets a ball, it's always a secondary or a defensive back instinct to go after the knees. So when you're a tight end, you really got to watch out for your knees. So yeah, that's rough.
He didn't have a good handle on the ball, so he was focused on that before.
And he gets lit up there. That's a worse spot there over the knees like that, right where you get hit. All right, so they're and the Lions here are what they got 24-22. They're now over midfield attacking here with it. Jordan, who do you got for game ball?
I think it's a no-brainer. Coaching's one thing, but
No Flacco.
Maybe DJ Stroud, no turnovers in a playoff game when the lights could have been the brightest ever for him, and he came through in a big way. Kept composure, let it rip early in the first quarter. Big time throws all day. Didn't do too much, didn't do too little. Didn't put himself in a situation that he could have produced big time turnovers. Absolutely a clean game. I think he was 1 point away from a perfect quarterback rating when it was all said and done.
Crazy.
And he didn't even get to finish the game. Case Keenum came in and did some cleanup duties. So yeah, I got to go with CJ Stroud.
Gentlemen, talking the gridiron here, we're down to the final 4 minutes of the game here. We'll get everybody out. We'll let everybody kind of finish that without us here on it. But hopefully you've enjoyed the show as we've taken you through most of the second half of the game here, keeping you update. I know the Rams are in position to take the lead. We don't want any heartbreak in Detroit. They got the Michigan title. They're not supposed to lose anymore, so they're getting used to it now. So we'll see what happens. We'll be up. We'll be back with you next week, of course, breaking down the divisional round at that point there. Jimmy,
if I can make one request, I need a live microphone to Eminem, and he needs to start doing the 8 Mile rap battles to the entire stadium. If the Rams take the lead, we need a live concert because that's the only thing that's going to flip the mojo of this thing. Because they showed Stafford's stat line. He's about to drop 400 on the Lions and possibly 3 touchdowns.
The Rams got a chop blocking penalty that put them way behind the sticks here, so they're out of field goal.
They're going to break the heart. They're going to break the heart if they do it. Rev, thanks for jumping on, man. Maybe we can get you on again before the season ends here.
Oh, yeah, found out one of these, whether I'm available for division, post, whether it's after the season, recap after the Super Bowl, conference, whatever. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. Jimmy Pilato, you guys have been putting out a lot of stuff at Far to the Bench. I know you guys are going to do another show this week. We've been doing the tailgates. We're doing the previews. We're really pushing a hard here at Variety Sports Network. No, nobody's going to beg you to watch, but if you want to support people that work hard on a network and really care about just kind of trying to bring sports on a different way to you, check out Variety Sports Network. That's what we're gonna. That's my plug to you in that way. I'm like I said, I'm not gonna beg you to play for us, but that's what it's gonna. I'll ask you to join. So enjoy the rest of the Lions and Rams game here. We finally got a good game here. Good for our show here. Talking the gridiron guys. We got it. It's better than a 48-12 game with it. So. For Jimmy Pilato, for Jordan Maxson, for Rev, we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.